Metro Manila has been in enhanced community quarantine for almost 3 months now, and with the pronouncement of a modified enhanced community quarantine which allows for some businesses to open but with limited capacity. This also means that a lot of us, particularly those who live alone in the metro, will still have to endure social isolation for longer. We all need to be alone from time to time, maybe to take a break from the pressures of work responsibilities or to avoid the hassle of crowds. However, prolonged social isolation can have detrimental effects on our health. According to a meta-analysis in 2015, perceived social isolation, which is another word for loneliness, could lead to depression, poor sleep quality, impaired executive function, accelerated cognitive decline, unfavorable cardiovascular function, impaired immunity, among other health risks. In 2009, Sarah Shourd, a journalist for the New York Times, was arrested after straying on Iran's border while hiking with two friends in the mountains of Iraqi Kurdistan. They were subjected to solitary confinement in Evin prison in Tehran for almost 15 months on their own cells. She reported in an article that after 2 months with almost no human contact, that she's experiencing auditory hallucinations where she seemed to hear footsteps from the corridor, only to find no one as she peeked from a small slit on the door. She said, "At one point, I heard someone screaming, and it wasn't until I felt the hands of one of the friendlier guards on my face, trying to revive me, that I realized that the screams were my own." She also experienced doing self-harm, beating the walls of her cell until her knuckles bled and cried herself into a state of exhaustion. Studies have shown that isolation in prisoners could lead to harmful psychological effects, which include anxiety, depression, anger, perceptual distortions, obsessive thoughts, paranoia, and psychosis. Moreover, a study in 2014 found significant association between self-harm and being in solitary confinement among prison inmates. Vsauce made an interesting experiment where the show's host was put in solitary confinement cell for 3 days without any entertainment devices such as phones, books, or writing materials. He also did not have timekeeping devices and even windows to allow him to see outside the world. Only the constant white light that illuminates his room and white padded walls. His body's circadian rhythm has been thrown out of balance and began showing signs of depression and dissociation. In this experiment, the subject did not only experience social isolation but also stimulus isolation. It is undeniable that prolonged social isolation could lead to detrimental mental health effects, especially in this time that most of us are in quarantine and can simply visit our friends or families, especially for those living alone. However, psychological research also suggested ways to manage these difficult conditions. The American Psychological Association has recommended the following ways to cope with our current situation. 1. Limit news consumption to reliable sources. While it's important to have accurate and timely public health information regarding COVID-19, too much exposure could lead to increased feelings of fear and anxiety. It is recommended to balance the time spent on news and social media with other activities unrelated to quarantine, such as reading, writing about your experiences, or learning new courses. Number 2. Create and follow daily routine. Maintaining a daily routine could help preserve a sense of order and purpose in our lives despite the unfamiliarity of isolation and quarantine. Try to set a timetable for regular daily activities such as house chores, work exercise, or learning. You can also integrate other healthy pastimes as needed. Number 3. Stay virtually connected with others. With today's technology, it is easier to connect with others. While face-to-face interactions may be limited, we have other options such as phone calls, text, video chat, social media, and other online messaging services to access your social support networks. It is also important to identify who you can contact for psychosocial support and other emergency services that you or your family may need. Number 4. Maintain a healthy lifestyle. Eat well, exercise, and get enough rest in your home if you are physically capable. Try to avoid using alcohol or drugs to cope with the stress of isolation and quarantine. Number 5. Use psychological strategies to manage stress and stay positive. Try to be realistic in your worries and assess your ability to cope. Instead of catastrophizing, try to accept the things you can't change and focus on what you can do. You can keep a daily gratitude journal or download smartphone apps with mindfulness and relaxation exercises. PTSD Coach is one of the most recommended apps. Focusing on altruistic reasons for social distancing may be able to alleviate psychological distress. Remember that by doing social distancing, you are helping reduce the possibility of transmitting COVID-19 and protecting those who are vulnerable. Okay, that's it. See ya.